Continuing in Daf Yod Aleph Amud Aleph, line 16. Umina Timra. How do we know the Hatzer She'ena Mishtameret, a non-guarded Hatzer, Yomed B'Tzatz De'in, if the owner is standing there, you can use it to acquire stuff. Ilolo, but if he's not there, you can't. Tanya, you have a bright top. Yomed Be'ayir, if the owner left his field and was now standing in the city. Oh, I know I have a, and he says to himself, I know I have a bundle or whatever that I left. I left a bundle of grain in the field. Lo yeshicha, I don't want it to become shechicha, meaning I don't want it to be left for anim. I want it for myself. Right? Shechicha literally means forgotten. It's like I didn't forget it. You might think it doesn't become shechicha. Therefore, the pasuk says v'shachachta omer b'sedeh. If you forget it, if you're in the field and you forget it, not if you're in the city. Now, that does not make sense because we just did the opposite. And the Gemara asks, how go vakasha? We just said that you would think it does not become shechicha, which means it does become shechicha when you're in the city. Then I see like, but then you brought a pasuk that taught you that is when you're in the field and you forget it, it's shechicha, but not when you forget it in the city. Which means it does not become shechicha. So what's going on? By explain it as follows. Basadeh, while the owner is still in the field, he has a bundle in the field that he quote unquote forgot. If he originally forgot it by the owner, then it becomes shechicha. Zachur, then he remembers. But if he remembered it, then he forgot it afterward, it does not become shechicha. My time why? They came into because since the owner is standing in the field, it's as if it's his chatzer, and it acquires it for him. If he's in the city, but in the city, when he said, I remembered, if he had already remembered before he left, and then he forgot it, it still becomes shechicha. Why is it not become shechicha? Because he's not in the field. So we see, according to this part of the Braita, that when you're not by the field, you cannot acquire it, and you only acquire something through your chatzer if you're there. We might. How do we know? Maybe so. Who said that's the halacha? Maybe the pasuk teaches you that. Maybe and therefore generally won't be that. But the basadeh and have a shechicha that when the owner's in the field, it's considered shechicha. But when in the city, he's not going to come to shechicha. The pasuk says you shall not return back to get it. To teach you that about shechicha, to teach you that the shechicha is considered forgotten, even if you remember it's in the city. Maybe that pasuk is not teaching you that, but rather it's teaching you a sword. Don't go if you leave the field. Don't go back from the city to go take it because now it's already considered shechicha. It's considered the beginning belonging to the owner, belonging to aniyim. Sorry. So when I said no, we don't need that because the pasuk should have said, "Do not take it." What does it mean? Don't turn back. To teach you that if it's forgotten while the guy is in the city, it's considered shechicha. We also need the pasuk to teach something else. Whatever in front of you is not considered shechicha, and if it's in your view. But if you turn your back and it's behind you, it is considered shechicha. Because that's considered turning back to get it. This is the rule. Anything that you have to turn back to is considered shechicha. But if it's in front of you, that's not considered shechicha. So we see that the pasuk teaches you that what this pasuk of tashuv, of returning, teaches you regarding the halacha of turning back to it, if it's in your viewpoint or not. So we see that there's no pasuk teaching you, extra pasuk teaching you the halacha of the city. So I said, the extra word yihiyah teaches you referring to the case of the city, right? So the item becomes shechicha wherever the owner is when he forgot it. All right, that's how we use it. So now we're going to bring a proof. I just skipped the line. One moment, sorry. Here we go. Also says the owner is standing inside of the field. Also said also he's able to acquire it if he's standing by the field only when you're there, not when you leave. Okay. There's a story of Rabban Gamliel Zakanim. They were traveling on a boat. Amar Rabban Gamliel said, listen to this. Maaser from my fruits that I want to give as Maaser Rishon, I want to give it to Yehoshua. He was a Levi. Muskar and the place that the maaser that is on shall be rented out to him. We'll see why that has to be. The Eisur Acher Shani Atid Amor, and another 10% that I want to give away for Maaser Ani. Natuni Akiva ben Yosef shall be given to Akiva ben Yosef Kadeshi Yeskul Aniyim, so that he can give it to the Aniyim. He was the treasurer, the poor man treasurer. Also that place shall be leased to him. So the Gemara asks what they're talking about. Were they stand by the field? Definitely not. So how did he give it to them? Says, apparently Ula did not like to answer this question. And he said, it looks like these rabbis, or Rabbi Abba, who brought this question from this story of the boat, he's like, it looks like he doesn't learn Torah. Ouch. When Rabbi Abba came to Surah, he told the rabbis there what happened. He's like, I didn't get an answer. The rabbis told him, it's not a question from that case. Why? Rabbi Gamliel was moving Maaser to Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva through Agav. Right? We have Agav. Agav means that you're passing property through something else. Right? If I have something on top of my tree stump, I'm going to be giving my tree stump to Reuven, and the apples on top of the tree stump are going to be passed through the tree stump. That's a kinyan agav, an acquisition or acquiring something through something else. So that he was doing, that's why he was leasing out the item to them. And the Gemara says, Rabbi Zera kibla, Rabbi Abba lo kibla. He's like, nice answer. Rabbi Abba does not like the answer still. Rabbi says, Shapir Abba lo kibla. Rabbi Abba is right that he doesn't like it. Why? How come they didn't use chalipin? Or how come they didn't just acquire it for the rabbis via handkerchief, like we do by kiddushin or other stuff? Because why? What's this acquisition? What's this transfer? This is tovat hana'ah. Tovat hana'ah literally means the gratitude or the good feeling that you feel by designating your kohen. If I want to give my my items, my fruits to our dear kohen, this Daf, Stanley Cohen. So I want to be able to feel good that I gave it to Stanley and not a different kohen that I don't know, right? So that feeling that I want to give my stuff to a certain kohen, that's considered tovat hana'ah. That's considered a feeling. So that's the only difference between me giving this maaser to him or someone else. So that feeling, that good feeling that I feel, is the only difference why I couldn't do chalipin. That's not enough to make an acquisition through chalipin to specify a certain Levi or a certain Kohen, sorry. You say, if that's the case though, if it's not enough an acquisition to do chalipin, then it also doesn't work to do agav karka. So how did they do it? Gemara says, it's not true. Pasuk says by the gifts for a Kohen, the Pasuk says giving. And therefore, the reason why halipin couldn't work over there is because that's for business and transactions. However, property through land, however, that's giving. And the same way you're able to give land over through the property, that also works for matanot Kohen. Okay, the Papa says different defense. It's different when the guy who's transferring it knows about it or not, right? So if it belongs to somebody or not. So what does that mean? If it's a hefker item, if the hefker item is in the property, then I need to be there in order to use my property to acquire it. However, if it's something that's already belonging to someone and I want to transfer to someone else, I don't need to be there. I could do it remotely. We're not even having that. The Tanakh Mishnah says, the case of the people running after the deer, our Mishnah. Is referring to a case where the guy can catch it. Maybe ask the question, but what's the case for a gift? Right? So that's only by a case of a lost item. What about a gift? If I give a guy a gift, a deer, and I put it in his property, Rabbi Abba accepted it. That it means even if he can't reach it, he still acquires it. Right? So if I put a deer into someone else's property and say, hey, it's yours. Meanwhile, the deer can run straight out of his property and the guy can't catch it because it's not an injured deer. So therefore, technically, he never had his property fully koneh it, but still a gift is okay. My time why? Because why? If it's a hefker item, it doesn't work. I need to be able to catch it. So therefore, it's on my property. Therefore, my property can acquire it. Over here, however, it's coming from one guy to the next. Therefore, it doesn't make a difference. How do they get? We have a case of a get. In the case where the husband is transferring ownership of the get to his wife, the wife doesn't have to be by her property when the husband throws it through her field. Yet Ula said that she has to be there. Why? Good question. Gemara says, "Shana get to eat the Baal Korcha." It gets different because it works against her will. Nah, the Gemara say, "Oh, really?" Makifa of Shishid Bereded of Idi. Uman get to eat the Baal Korcha. If a get works Baal Korcha against her will, she has no choice to accept the get. She has to be there to work, and if she's not there, it doesn't work. A present that the guy doesn't need, that only works with consent. For sure, he has to be there. A different reason. What's the reason? Chatzer is learned this from the same halachot of yad, hand. Below gar'ai mishlichut, but it's not worse than shlichut. Therefore, gabe get the hovulo la, a get that is bad for the woman because she loses parnasa, and having the she needs to be there because there's no such thing as causing a loss to somebody or hurting someone unless they have their presence there. Gabe matana, however, present is hutulo, which is positive for someone else. He can benefit for someone else, even that is absence. So if I want to give $100 to someone else and say, you be the $100 for a third person, that third person doesn't have to be there. That third person doesn't have to know about it because that's considered as a benefit for him. He doesn't have to have his knowledge or presence there. Kufa. The case of our Mishnah where you saw the guy chasing after the lost item. Right? We said earlier that he can only if he could reach the animal before they leave the field. What's about a gift? He doesn't have to catch it. So now this is what we said earlier. Now we're going to break it down. I threw a purse through the guy's doorway. Let's say it's a narrow doorway. Let's say it's on the attic. So I launch my hand back. I throw the wallet. I'm giving it to Reuven. I throw it through the Reuven's window on one side of the attic, and it flew straight out the opposite side. Or let's say it's over his whole house. So now what's the problem? Mahu. So since it never landed, however, since it passed through his airspace, is that considered it did land and if we acquired it, or maybe it's not? The Gemara says, Amar Mishnah. Our Mishnah. The cases where you can reach them. Ubayr asked, how was the halacha of matana? We mentioned that case by a gift that even if the guy can't catch it, it's still considered his. So if that's the case by a deer that if he couldn't catch it, it's considered in your property and you're able to accept it only by a gift, not by a mitzvah. So here, I throw the wallet through. It should also be considered that it landed, and therefore the house should acquire the wallet as well. The Gemara says, not a good proof. You're bringing a proof from a case of rolling, like an object that's rolling. A rolling object does not count. So because if the deer or whatever is running or an item is rolling through a property, right? The case of our Mishnah, it's making contact with the ground. Therefore, we're more inclined to say that it's considered part of the property and therefore you acquire it. However, the case of the wallet that never made contact with the ground, we don't say that. Okay, new Mishnah. Someone's katan, son or daughter, found something. Or if someone's goy slave, male or female slave, or someone's wife found something, belongs to the guy. Someone's male or female adult son or daughter. Someone's adult son or daughter found something. Or someone's Jewish servant, maidservant. Someone's wife who he divorced, but did not give her the kid to buy yet. It belongs to them. How come Hachamim said, our Mishnah said that the katan's finding belongs to the father? Because when a katan finds something, he right away runs to his father and doesn't play with it. Therefore, we can assume that the katan, when he picked it up, he wanted to give it to his father, therefore the father acquires it. The Gemara says, 1 second. The Shmuel hold that whatever the son finds miduraita doesn't have his own acquisition, meaning the only reason why it belongs to that because the kid brings it to him. If someone hired a poor guy to work for him, the harvest, let's say, the son can follow his father and pick up the leket. Leket means the things that were dropped. Right? There's three types of things that are in a person's field that becomes hefker for aniyim. Pe'ah, we mentioned the corner. Leket, sheikhah, stuff that was forgotten, bundles that were forgotten, and leket are pieces that fall. So the son, the poor guy's son, can walk behind and pick it up. Where it says, if the worker is working as a partner, like a sharecropper, and he's getting a portion, then he cannot collect leket. Rabbi Yosef says you can collect. Now, if Rabbi Yosef holds that the katan can acquire his own thing, therefore the son is collecting, the son's a poor kid, he's collecting, and therefore he is able to keep it, and then he can give it to his father afterward as a gift. But if he does not have his own personal independent acquisition, but rather all goes to the dad, then when he is collecting leget, it goes to his father. Avua ashirhu, and in the case where the father is a partner or a sharecropper with the guy, then he's considered rich man. Not literally the rich man, but he's considered not a poor guy, and therefore he can't get the leket. So how can he collect it? So how come his children and wife can collect after him? It should be considered that the father's getting it, and the father's not eligible anymore. The Gemara says Shmuel Tamad, it doesn't come out. Shmuel, when he said it requires for his father, was explaining the reasoning of the Tanakh, that it always belongs to the dad. But he doesn't hold like it. He holds it like a Yossi, that he acquires on his own behalf.